thing about sequels is that the people that make these sequels never seem to learn from other people that have made bad sequels. That is absolutely also the case with the second Joker movie from Todd Phillips, and I'm just gonna say that because I could never pronounce the actual name even if I tried. It seems naturally way more like a failed cast grab rather than an actual effort to make it good. We start by breaking down the problems. The first one is that it feels way too slow. The Joker wasn't played by Joaquin Phoenix, who looks tired and lethargic throughout this one, but we will get to that later, does not turn into a real recognizable Joker until half an hour into the movie, when he starts to represent himself in a court case, making most of the movie up until that point really interesting. Up until that point, the movie feels like a half musical, halfway psychoanalysis. In my eyes, Brent Gleeson is actually the one actor that saves this movie from being less than a 4 out of 10. If we go down to the second problem, we need to address Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, or Lee as she is called in this movie, where I personally feel she is the worst Harley Quinn in the history of Harley Quinns. Just remember how much better, devious, and cruel that Margaret Robbie plays this particular role in the Suicide Squad movies. She just walks over it like a moose on a cockroach. There's also too many times that Lady Gaga comes singing into the movie as part of the imagination of Arthur Fleck, although of course sometimes they actually might sing together in reality. Anyways, that actually suggests that this movie might as well be called something along the lines of Lady Gaga and the Joker, or perhaps more fittingly, Harley Quinn and the Joker, when it actually seems to be all about prioritizing the Harley Quinn character instead of the Joker, and you feel she hijacks this one, far from in a good way. My third critique about this one will be the real substance of the whole movie, and what angle it tries to tell it from. While the first one worked in some ways, and seemed like a bad version of King of Comedy did, with Arthur Fleck mimicking that he was on the Murray Franklin show, then he was actually invited there. Then you saw De Niro on the other side of the aisle as the good guy when he, in the actual King of Comedy movie, played a bad guy underdog role, much like what Joaquin Phoenix does in this movie. In this movie, however, we see no such substance, and there are a lot of flashes back to the first movie, suggesting that it becomes more like a homage to the first one rather than a sequel that tries to tell a new story, which is sort of the same trap that Gladiator 2 fell in with all the throwbacks to Maximus, because they didn't even try to make a better main character. It would have been way better to try to make something new, rather than digging up the old stuff, making it clear once again that this is a failed, superficial cast grab from the director, not aligned with what the people want, but perhaps the Hollywood elite wanted this movie. This sequel fails like hell, and it is not even creative at all. It is just made as a dream movie from Lady Gaga, where everything is made on her command. By comparison, a movie such as Elvis actually has heart and soul in it, and it has way more substance, making you feel the heart and soul of the music as well when you watch it, which is not the case in this one. Another bad thing about this movie, which kinda is one that is self-inflicted, is the version of the Joker that Joker plays. Look, I get that he plays a different Joker than the usual one, but in this movie, it goes so far off the rails that you can hardly tie anything or recognize this being a Joker character. In the first one, that worked because you saw how he became the Joker, and it was a different, deeper version. In this one, however, we are left with a so modified, weakened version, and Joaquin Phoenix just looks tired, perfectly outshined by the only actor that gives us a performance in sleazy and brutal guard played by Brent Gleeson. Apart from that, the movie is just a musical, which at times is buried in a low drama, which at times is buried in uncontrollable imagination, and that Arthur Fleck at the end there gives up being the Joker makes no sense to me. Perhaps there's even a clever way to explain that from Todd Phillips that tried to make what the Hollywood elites wanted, and not we as the people. It is actually laughable how much this movie failed, given that it was one of the most anticipated movies of the year, but it rather turns out to be one of the most failed sequels in a lifetime. For me, this one is a 4 out of 10, and the bottom just oozes as you watch it.